Hello and welcome. I have a weekly reading wrap up for you today. It's been in real time, probably almost 2 weeks since my last video, but so I might have a little bit more talking to do today. And I have some notes because there's so much information in these books today. So, anyway, I'll get right to it. The first book that I finished was William Wordsworth's selected poems, and there was a few in here that I enjoyed, and some that I didn't. It was okay, but they didn't move me. So I'll just leave it at that. I think that poetry is very personal to things that you've experiences that you've had, and yeah, so sometimes things might affect you more than others, and that is okay. I'm still looking for the perfect poet for me. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. And this is actually a new book that I bought this week. I saw um, somebody talking about a similar book, and I got looking at it on Amazon, and it wasn't for me once I got looking into the details. But then this one was suggested, and I thought, hey, that looks like it would be great for my Mexico prompt. So this is a novel. It's called The Underdogs, a novel of the Mexican Revolution by Mariano Azuela. And it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars overall. It was first published in 1915, and the author himself was in one of the revolutionary groups from this time. So he has personal experience there. So I am going to trust that his information will be good. I know when I was looking through Goodreads, there was some Spanish comments that gave very low ratings. So it would be, I don't know Spanish. I wish I could. I wish I could read it and find out what it was that they said. Um, but for now, I can only go by what's written here. And basically, the time frame, the time period that this takes place is from the years 1913 to 1915. The Mexican Revolution had started in 1910. And the main character, Demetrius, Demetrio, he's he's leaving his wife and his son after a brief conjugal visit to return to his little posse of revolutionaries. When they were first starting out, um, everyone uh, was excited that they were defending them because the federales as they're referred to, would go and they'd um, rape the women, kidnap the women. They would just murder people just randomly, and then and steal their things, destroy their crops. And these revolutionaries were fighting them to try and bring peace to the nation. Well, fighting doesn't bring peace in many, many, many cases. So, as their victories grew, they were getting a sense of power. They started taking things from people, looting, burning down houses and buildings, kidnapping the women, and stuff until they themselves were feared by the people that they were supposedly trying to help. So, yeah, it was it was very good. The only complaint that I really had about it was, I think, more with the translator. Some of the slang was a lot much too modern for the time period, and it sometimes I laughed when I probably shouldn't have been laughing. It wasn't supposed to be funny, but yeah, it was very good. I'm glad I read it, and yeah, that was the underdogs. So I was very excited to get into it. That's why I read it as soon as it came in. So the next one that I have is Tom Brokaw's The Greatest Generation. And I used the stars and stripes on the cover prompt for this one. And like I mentioned in the previous video, his commentary in here I didn't appreciate all the time, but I loved the stories of the people. And it goes into discrimination against women. He also discusses racism in the war against the Native Americans, the Japanese Americans, the blacks. But his information that he gave, his interviews that he presented, didn't always support his claims. So he didn't actually recognize that in there. So that was interesting, and that was one of the things that I disagreed with him on. He also presented women being great at stepping in and doing the men's work when the men were away, to do their part to support in the war, and that was good. And then he also talked about them after the war going and knowing that they could work out of the home now and do a good job, that they wanted to do so more and more over the years after that. He and a number of the people that he interviewed also said that there's a dramatic breakdown in marriages and an increase in divorces after the war. But he didn't bring those two, any chance of those two being connected, which is another whole discussion. But yeah, so it was it was good overall. He had a lot of public figures in here. I didn't go back and count them. There was probably equal number of non-public members as public members, but all of the senators and presidents and such just seemed to be what you remembered at the end. So there's that. Okay. And then the last book that I finished was Music and Morals. And like I mentioned before in the previous video, I'm going to sit down with the Piano Man at some point, and we're going to go over this book because there's so many things. I mean, I'm not going to get into all of my notes here, but he goes back to when Moses was on the mountain and the people were down making noise and merriment around the golden calf. He goes into Aristotle's views on music. And even for him, his views flip flopped whether he thought it was a good thing or not. He talked about Confucius, Thomas Aquinas. He came all the way up to modern times. Let's see. Basically, music could be good or bad, depending on how you use it. And for Luther, he enjoyed music. It inspired his sermons. And then music was, in medieval times, used for curing illnesses, which full spectrum, it has come around and it is again being used for curing illnesses, although not the same illnesses as it was before. But it could be bad because music comes right down and affects your very being, whatever you're listening to. And several times when I was reading the book, I would think of the movie Footloose. And that was about this little little town that only allowed music, the hymn music, in the church, and the rest of the town wasn't supposed to play music. And of course, the young people wanted to have a dance. And thinking back on it, they weren't wrong in their thinking. So, anyway, yeah. So, anyway, I'll get into this a little bit more with Piano Man. He's been very busy lately, so he hasn't been able to sit down with me. But we'll get into this book some more. in a future video. So there's that. Um, and then I've been reading a little bit more in Anne of Avonlea. I have got back to Anna Karenina. And I'm almost finished with How to Read Like a Catholic. This is so much information that I'm not going to be able to tell you very much about the book either when I get to reviewing it, because like the Music and Morals book, it has a lot of information. And I am still reading Truman. And that is, oh, that's all I'm reading. I was going to mention as an alternative to the Tom Brokaw book, I would highly recommend. Well, we had Everything But Money. And while Tom Brokaw said that the people in his book were highly influenced and affected by the Depression and the Dust Bowl, he really didn't reference it very much. But this one has many, many, many interviews with people who lived through those years, how it affected them, how they survived. Many interviews. And there's no commentary. It is little blurbs about what the people said, about how they lived. And it's a very, very good book. Yeah. So if you can find that one, it's not the easiest one to come across. But if you can find that one, it's very good. And I think that is all for today. So thank you very much for stopping by. Let me know what you're reading, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.